The week-long rally was orchestrated to sweep people up in a spectacle of sheer power.
Now, every religion has its ritual. The Nazis had their ritual, their mass rituals, yes? And what did it give to people, these mass meetings? When the merchant leaves his lonely shop, yeah, and joins in the crowd in action, then he feels one, and he's happy, one with the others, and he's happy. He's lost his loneliness.
Oh, it was great to go to a rally. All the uniforms, and there was an electric atmosphere already before it all started. There was singing going on, and then suddenly it was announced, der Führer kommt, the Führer is coming, and then you saw him walking up to the stage, and there was shouting of Heil, 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 Heil.
As the Nazi frenzy swept Germany, Hitler made clear what he expected from the nation. The party is the selecting ground for German political leaders. Its doctrine will be unchangeable. Its organizations will be as hard as steel. Its total image, however, will be like a holy order. The Nazi mass rallies were carefully orchestrated to build to an overwhelming emotional epiphany that evoked a religious fervor. At the center of this ritual was Hitler. Everything was constructed to make Hitler look like divinity. Messiah. Having won the unquestioning support of the German people, Hitler was now ready to dominate the world. From the onset of the war in 1939, country after country fell to the Nazis. By the winter of 1942, however, the tide turned, and the Nazis began to experience what they thought was impossible. Defeat. As the Nazi war effort grew more and more desperate, they expanded their use of the occult sciences, from research and ritual to a basis for making military decisions. Certain members of the German Naval Command became convinced that the Allies were already employing mystical forces to wage war against Germany. They believed that the British successes at locating and destroying German U-boats had been achieved through occult means, and that the best way to combat this was also by using the occult as a weapon. This led Himmler to establish a top-secret institute dedicated to the ancient occult practice of pendulum dowsing. Over maps of the North Atlantic, Clairvoyants would swing an object suspended from a string, attempting to locate the position of Allied convoys. German U-boat missions were dispatched based on the results. In this letter written by Himmler, dated January the 12th, 1943, he refers to dowsing research and training having made great progress during the year. Still, the most common occult arts employed by the Nazis were astrology and prophecy, although they were approached in two distinctly different ways. Rudolf Hess and Heinrich Himmler genuinely believed in the occult and used it for making political decisions. But Joseph Goebbels, head of the propaganda ministry, wanted to use the occult purely for propaganda purposes, to manipulate people and undermine Allied morale. Goebbels soon became aware of a great source of mystical knowledge, the predictions of Nostradamus. One of the most celebrated visionaries of all time, Nostradamus completed his masterpiece of prophecy in 1555. The book contains subtle references to a crisis in Britain and Poland in the year 1939, the year Nazi Germany invaded Poland. Nearly 400 years after Nostradamus wrote his book. For Goebbels, Nostradamus was a perfect propaganda tool, whose work could be interpreted as predicting a great victory in Germany's future.
Nostradamus' prophecies are written in four-line poems called quatrains, and they're so dense and esoteric that you can interpret them in many different ways.
To interpret the French prophet, Goebbels recruited renowned astrologer and Nostradamus expert Karl Ernst Kraft. A particular quatrain that Goebbels seized on seemed to refer directly to Hitler and quickly became part of the Nazi leader's mystique.
There's a very famous quatrain which has got the word Hister in it, which was everyone was bandying around, was saying that was Hitler.
In Goebbels' diary, he expressed his excitement when Berndt, a member of his staff, began to formulate a plan to use the prophecy. 19th of May 1942. Berndt handed in a plan for the occultist propaganda to be carried on by us. We are getting somewhere. The Americans and English fall easily to this kind of propaganda. We are therefore pressing into service all star witnesses of occult prophecy. Nostradamus must once again submit to being quoted. The creation of fake prophecies and fraudulent mysticism to influence the enemy became known as black propaganda.
Yes, they made up a flyer of the Nostradamus prophecies and threw them all over France, that France would be destroyed if it did not capitulate.
British intelligence discovered the deception and, recognizing its propaganda potential, began to wage their own Nostradamus campaign.
The British actually picked up on this. They produced a volume of 50 fake Nostradamus prophecies which forecast British victory on the war.
Just as the Nazis had flooded France with fake Nostradamus prophecies, the Allies smuggled their own black propaganda into Germany. The black propaganda campaign in England soon took a new turn with the arrival of Hungarian Jewish émigré and astrologer Louis de Vol. Recruited by British intelligence, de Vol was assigned to work with master counterfeiter